Hello and welcome to this fifth line exploration of Gate 25, the gate of spirit of self, the gate of innocence. When we get to the fifth line, we find the heretic. That's what all fifth lines are. This is what they're about. They burning at the stake. The fifth line is always about establishing practical provisions in revolutionary times. I think about the seven and the fifth line, the general who never has an army, the general who sits in the countryside raising sheep and growing potatoes. And in that moment of crisis in the community, the general is called upon to provide practical provisions in revolutionary times. And in those moments, the general is given complete power. They do their job, and when the job is over, they have to give up their power and go back to the farm. When the first line is the foundation of the hexagram, we find that it is the true essence of the hexagram. The fifth line is how everybody wants to see the hexagram. You know, we might all love a dictator when we need a dictator, and we all want them to quit when we don't need them anymore. We all want a savior to come in the appropriate moment and save us, but we don't want to be saved every day. Thank you very much. So the fifth line, one of the keys is to learn about the timing and also the correctness of the call. You know, you don't answer every call. You have to see, is this actually the right timing for me? And then when you're in it and you're giving a practical solution, the right timing to leave, because that's the point when you lose your reputation or you get burned at the stake. The fifth line is the line of seduction. It seduces you in order to universalize its message. The projections that they have to deal with can be exhausting, and they can lead to a paranoia about who to trust and whether they're really being seen for who they truly are, or if that projection is constantly in the way. Fifth lines are often concerned, as I said, for their reputation. You know, if they fail to bring a practical solution when a crisis calls for it, and again, if they fail to leave when they've done their job, it's the reputation that can be at stake, even if they're not thrown on the stake, but that can lead to them distrusting others too. In the nature of the traditional I Ching, all fifth lines are exalted because of their impact on society, or their potential impact on society, because this is the point of projection. And when we come to the fifth line here in the gate of the spirit of the self and the gate of innocence, we find recuperation. And it's interesting here, this is a very special fifth line because it is the only one in all the 384 lines, the only line at all, not just the only fifth line, that speaks of healing. So the lifetime learning says when innocence is sapped of its vitality, healing is the first priority. Ra said that if the 46 in the fifth line is the weakest of all the fifth lines, then the 25-5 is not far behind. And this is a line that is weak for a reason, in the sense that the only time that most human beings are actually, it's one of these days, I apologize in advance for mangling the language. The only time that we're truly existential is when we're sick. You know, when we're really sick, we can't escape it. It's unpleasant. We're stuck in it. We can't move forward. We can't focus on the future. All we can be is here now. We're not reflecting on the past. We're just, I remember when my tooth was bad, and thankfully it was a very short period of infection that was there, that I was absolutely in it. I mean, that was a truly, in its way, existential experience, although I didn't appreciate it for that at the time. But when we are in that moment of true sickness, true illness, then there's nothing else we can do other than be in it. And then we're finally ourselves. Most human beings never come to the truth of who they are until that moment of being really sick, because it's the sickness where they, how can you say it? When the sickness that they have is because they haven't been themselves in the first place. This is what Ra tells us, that it is through living out a life of not self that you get the sickness to start with. You know, and then in trying to heal themselves of the sickness, what they're trying to do is come back to themselves without understanding what it is they're doing. So the moment somebody recovers from an illness is the moment that they can start again to be themselves. And of course, generally what happens is that they immediately go out and take some kind of conditioning in again, and then they'll get sick again down the line. And then when they get sick, they get thrown in that existential plane again. And Ra said it becomes a loop that most people cannot get out of. You know, they heal themselves on an existential level, but then they throw themselves back into whatever they were doing before that was their conditioned existence. And you can't heal in any other place but now. This is another thing that's very interesting about healing and sickness. Now is when you get well. You know, well, you can't get out until you're better in a way. There's nothing you can do but be there. This is a very strange line, and it throws up some very interesting contemplations. The fifth line gets projected on, that general sitting in the countryside, and everyone in their time of crisis, they project that the general truly can save them. And if the general can't save them, well, game over for the general. But this is what the heretic is all about. The villagers are going to go out there and let them know what they think. What is projected here is that the 25-5 is sick, or it's projecting on them that they're really healthy, or projecting on them that they could make you sick, or they could heal you. And it's going to be something sort of woven in around those themes, or, well, I mean, that's it really. That's the theme of this line. In the exaltation, it's the ability to recognize the inner meaning of an affliction and to withdraw until it is healed. The power of the spirit to heal and be healed. And remember, this is the only line that talks about healing. This is about humanity and humanity's capacity to be healed. And it says the ability to recognize the inner meaning of an affliction and withdraw until it is healed. It does not say, take a load of medicine until you're healed. It says, withdraw until you're healed. To withdraw, first of all, from the auras of others. All disease, all sickness that affects all human beings, it goes through the centers that they are not. Human design can teach any of us as individuals with a small I, individuals, our capacity to be able to understand our own nature and to discover ourselves. And more than that, it's about being healthy. If we live out our own nature, we're healthy, which doesn't mean we don't get sick. It's really important to be clear about that. It doesn't mean we don't get sick, but it means we get the illnesses that are correct for us, that we are equipped to deal with. And all we have to do to heal those is withdraw, go into our space, get out of aura, be in our own aura, and wait for the illness to pass, because our system will be able to deal with it if we're living correctly. We are designed to deal with whatever comes to us when we are living in that correctness. And that usually also includes having the right PHS, so following our dietary regimen, being in the right environment. Ra said for children, initially, children didn't need to be in their own environment until they were, I think it was 21, something like that, because children are brought up in their parents' environment. Hopefully their parents are going to be in their correct environment, but maybe this hasn't been in the world long enough for that to be a thing yet. So when the only time children need to be in their correct environment is when they're ill, because that will help them to heal quicker. So all of these different pieces that we have within human design, it is such a comprehensive system. It is so complex and so, oh my God, 11 fourth lines. Can you hear me? Am I missionary with this one? It's like I'm coming out and I'm going to move on now with the fifth line. But this is the thing. We get the illness that we're designed to heal from when we are living correctly. And this is really what the heart of the healing thing is all about. It's not about medicine. It's not about someone laying their hands on you. It's not about anything like that. It's about living as ourselves. If we live as ourselves, we don't get everybody else's diseases. We don't get homogenized diseases. We get what's correct for us to experience. Ra said that this is a line that carries with it a great mystery that can easily be opened up for others. Because all you have to do, all you have to say is, hey, you want to be healthy? Live as yourself. The now is all about being healthy. When somebody projects onto you, remember the harmony of the second line or the resonance to the second line and the problems with being brought to a place of motivation by others. Well, here it's even stronger. What you have here is other people wanting to project onto your innocence, wanting your innocence to be their spirit. This takes strength away, and in taking vitality away, it takes away the vitality to be innocent in the now. And the only way you can avoid that is to withdraw. Only when you are in the now, only when you are being in the experience of your body, only when you are accepting your own rhythm, are you going to be healthy. The mystery of this line is that healing oneself is about withdrawing from conditioning. This is what healing is. Withdrawing from conditioning and healing the conditioners. In the detriment, we have hypochondria and the need to be healed by others, the weakness of the spirit, which requires healing from others. And this is an important thing to understand. The moment your innocence is sapped of its vitality, and the moment that someone is projecting onto your spirit, in that moment, you take in their conditioning, and in that moment, you kind of become the sick one. And then they have to heal you. And of course, they heal you with what does not belong to you. And so you can stay the sick one. So it's important to understand what healing is really all about, that there is no need for anyone to be healed as long as they are not taken away from their nature. The moment innocence is sapped of its vitality, disease is in the world. So what that means is that as long as we are not being innocent, as long as we are not being what we are, we create disease, we create illness, and it's a self-serving process after all. Disease is one of the greatest employers in the world. Hospitals, doctors, homeopaths, medicines, factories, spas, healers. I read somewhere once, the pharmaceutical industry, it doesn't want to heal anyone. It's creating customers. That's it. It's not healing illness. And this is the whole industry, not just the pharmaceutical industry. It's the whole thing. It comes back to the same thing, really. And universal love is about, getting down and realizing, hey, it's not up to me. All I have to do is accept what it is to be me, and I'm going to be fine. But the moment I try to be something else, the moment I try to accept the conditioning to be something else, is the moment I bring sickness into my experience. If you don't live out your own rhythm, then you take love away from the world. If you don't live in your body and accept what it is to live in your body, you take away the capacity for success for humanity. The moment you do not live selflessly, motivelessly, you bring disease into your experience, into your world. The need to be healed by others brings all kinds of mystical forces into the life. This is a mystical gate after all, and this is an aspect of healing that seeks out a greater and more powerful universal healing. And out of that comes the need to be healed by others. And remember the binary nature of that. To be healed by others is also the capacity to heal them. The fifth line is the line of priesthood, of doctors. It's the priesthood of the healing shaman, the priesthood of blame. In a way, it's the blame that says you're sick because of this, because of that. And this is a positive and a negative. In other words, sometimes it's the truth and sometimes it's sheer nonsense. And this is one of the ways to find out how we can be healthy. One of the things you find out about the 25-5 actually is that very often they are sickly. At a mundane level, the 25-5 is the kind of person who has an encyclopedia at home of all the human diseases, and they're often found leafing through the book, trying to figure out what's wrong with them. And there are also people, other people come up to them and tell them they're not looking well. The 25-5 in detriment, their friends come up to them and say, gosh, you're not looking so good today, are you all right? And because it's a line of projection, of course, that if you get that every day, day in, day out, then you don't know who you are, then maybe you are going to maintain a level of sickness within yourself as a result of that. So the grounding through this very interesting 25-5 is coming through the 46 in the fifth line, which is called pacing. And pacing feels like a really good support to have here for the line of recuperation. You pace yourself, you don't buy into the conditioning, you get out of awe of other people, and you gently come back into being the truth of who you are. You realize that your love for your body means listening to your own sense of timing, and timing is a big theme for our fifth lines. So Mars moved into gate 62 today at 8:17, and it meets Mercury, giving us the channel 1762, the channel of acceptance, a design of an organizational being, a channel with the gift of communicating in a logical way and bringing organization and structure to the world around them. These are people who need all the facts at their fingertips before speaking, and their opinions must be backed up by detail. Their vision can falter if they don't take time to look into all the facts and details. And this is the design of a natural organizer, developing and improving logical patterns for the future. So the moon has been in gate 10 since 0405, the G center gate of the behavior of the self. Next, the moon moves into the root gate 58 at 1454. This is the joyous, the gate of vitality with a zest for life, deriving great joy and pleasure in being alive in this world, having an appreciation for the beauty and the wonder of life, and driven to challenge and correct any condition that keeps society from experiencing well-being as we move into the future. It's a really lovely line, isn't it, to have when we've got the 25-5 in and that line of recuperation. When this energy is correctly focused and channeled, then it's the fuel to ensure humanity's safe progress. It will adjust imbalances. It will make lasting contributions to the collective, because 58 is the collective logical side of the body graph. And at 1:35 tomorrow morning, the moon transits into gate 38. Still in the root, this is the gate of opposition, the gate of the fighter, and the individual gate with the ability to preserve individual integrity through opposition to detrimental forces. Detrimental forces being those who seek to influence this deaf and stubborn energy. So that's the fifth line. The fifth line, which means tomorrow, of course, is the top of the hexagram. And it's also my last presentation tomorrow, my last offering, I guess you could call it. So I will be back for that tomorrow for the sixth line of gate 25. Until then, I will see you soon. And I'm going to try really hard not to cry all over tomorrow's one, I have to say, because it feels like a very emotional thing to have got to this point in the journey where I'm closing off my own personal cycle. And although this has happened, of course, in many ways, different cycles, hundreds of times in my life, I guess this time it's coming with a sense of real consciousness around what this closing of the cycle is. So join me for that one tomorrow, please. And also tomorrow evening, if it is correct for you and you feel invited, I am doing what am I doing? It's a worry, isn't it? I'm doing a YouTube live, and yeah, at 6 p.m. GMT. If you would like to just come and say hello, nothing formal, there's nothing structured, no forecasts or anything like that is planned. Just yeah, hang out, cup of tea and a biscuit, and or whatever you'd like to bring. I'll be back anyway with the sixth line tomorrow. So until then, and with much love, go gently.